If you're looking to run Google Ads for your local business and you don't quite know how much Google Ads costs, what you should set aside as your budget, that's what we're going to cover in today's video. I'm going to walk you through the process that I use when it comes to actually kind of quoting out budgets for potential clients and how you can kind of use the Google Ads keyword planner to figure out what your budget should be and how much you should set aside for Google Ads. So if you're new here, my name is Chris. I cover all things Google Ads, local lead generation. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. But let's jump into the process that I use to figure out how much Google Ads might cost for your business. So I think really the biggest caveat with this is that I can't give one kind of blanket answer for every single business. It's going to be different based upon the industry that you're in, the competitiveness of the market that you're in right now. But what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to walk you through the process that I use, and I'm going to give you a kind of a few different examples of, the low end, the high end, kind of what you can, realistically see with Google Ads, and give you some tools to kind of figure it out on your end. But one thing to keep in mind is that it's really good with Google Ads, especially nowadays, to be realistic with your budget and that expectation around what that budget could be, depending on your industry, depending on your market, because there's some instances where if your daily and monthly budget is just not enough for Google Ads, there's a lot of instances where I would probably advise somebody to go towards something like Facebook ads instead of Google Ads, because Google has always been a more expensive platform, and it's gotten even more expensive in the past, 2 years or so, with click costs getting inflated, more people coming onto the platform, competition going up. It's just an expensive platform, and that's the reality of it. And it's better to go into Google Ads being realistic about it and having those proper expectations instead of coming into Google Ads, going into a market, and then just not being competitive enough if you're just not spending enough to go up against other businesses in the area. And I'll get into this last point here in just a second when we go into the keyword planner. Typically, the way I figure out an average daily budget for Google Ads is you want to take whatever the rough average estimated click cost would be and then multiply it by 5. And that'll give you kind of a daily budget estimate that you could go with for your business. And that you can multiply out for however many days that you want to advertise. Typically, I recommend 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. That works pretty well. It's obviously going to vary depending on, the industry. If you're in something like pool services or kind of a more weekend oriented industry when people are actually thinking about that thing, thinking about their pool, sometimes the weekend's a little bit better. But typically what you want to do, click cost times 5, that's going to give you your daily budget. And the reason I say times 5 is because that is when I'm thinking about getting results for a client, I want to try to get at least 5 clicks a day, because ultimately I'm trying to shoot for at least a 20% conversion rate. That's going to give somebody enough momentum with that campaign to try to get 1 new lead a day from that Google Ads campaign. And then if you want more leads from there, you can scale up the amount of traffic from that point. So to actually get started on this process and to kind of start figuring out what that budget's going to be, the first thing you need to do is set up a Google Ads account if you don't have one already. It's really simple to do. Just go to ads.google.com. They're going to guide you through the steps. They'll be very, very happy to guide you through the steps to get an account set up. Go through those steps, follow the process. It's very likely that Google is going to make you set up a campaign to start. You can set up a campaign. You're probably going to have to put in your card info, but you can pause the campaign, set it to $1 a day, and just make sure it doesn't actually spend any money. But you are going to need to set up a Google Ads account to actually access the Google Ads keyword planner. And with all that said, all that out of the way, let's jump over to a Google Ads account, and I'll walk you through how to start figuring out how much Google Ads should cost for your business. So in order to start figuring out how much Google Ads is going to cost for your business, you're going to need a Google Ads account. So first thing you want to do is go to ads.google.com, go through their process, get a Google Ads account set up so you can actually start using their keyword research tool to do the research to figure out how much Google Ads might cost. Once you have an account set up, you're most likely going to have to switch it over to an expert view, because if you don't have some of these options on the side, you're going to need to make that UI switch to make sure you get everything. But assuming you have these, what you want to do is you want to go to Tools, and then under Planning over here, you want to go to Keyword Planner, click on this, and then you're going to see a page that looks something like this. We want to discover new keywords. And then in this box right here, you just want to put in some kind of base level keywords for your industry based upon what somebody might search to find your service. So I'm going to enter in a few here, and then what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through different examples in different industries to give you a range of what different industries kind of cost on Google Ads and how you can sort of calculate what you might want to be investing and what you might want to set aside in terms of your budget. So I'm going to put in a few now, and then we'll get to the actual research. So on my end, what I did, I just put in a few keywords here. I could probably put in more. I just did tree services, tree removal, tree services, Seattle. And what we're going to do is you put those in there. We're going to hit get results, and then it is going to populate with a little bit of keyword data. But what I want to do first, before I go through any of this, is I want to try to get a sense of what the rough estimated cost is for my particular market. So before we even get into that, actually, I think it's important to let you know that take these numbers with a grain of salt. This keyword planner is not 100% accurate. There's a lot of things that impact keyword costs, but it's a good way to get a rough idea of how expensive a market might be. So what I want to do is I want to go up here to the location up here. I hit this. And then for this, I'm just going to type in Seattle just to keep it simple. We're going to target all of Seattle, get rid of the United States, and then hit save. And obviously do this for whatever your market is. You can target by county, by city, zip code, state. Try to keep it roughly in your targeted location. Hit save, and then you'll see the numbers over here will update. So you can see compared to the national data, it definitely got more expensive. Things in Seattle are generally insanely overpriced, so your market is probably going to be different. But what I like to do is I try to look at kind of a rough average of some of the main keywords. So things that people are going to be searching primarily. So if I wanted to focus on tree service, so tree service near me, high end is literally $40, which is pretty rough. This is probably like a seasonality thing to this as well. I've seen this be a little bit cheaper. You can see things like trimming and pruning are lower cost per click than tree service. But typically what I do, if I'm trying to estimate how much Google Ads would cost in a market, what I usually do is I will take the rough estimate over here and then multiply it by 5. And that is usually the daily budget that I try to work with, or at least when I'm talking to a client, what I try to quote for them as like a realistic ad budget. Because with Google Ads, you don't want to be in a situation where you're just not competitive enough in terms of budget, because there's kind of nothing worse than getting a campaign up and running and maybe you only get like 10 leads a month because you're just either you don't have enough of a budget to compete within that market, or you don't have enough traffic to optimize the campaign quickly enough. It's better to get more traffic than just not enough. And I think it's important also, especially if you're looking to get into Google Ads in 2026 or any year beyond, is things have gotten more expensive on the platform. So having a realistic expectation around all that, I think, is really important. So in this case, for something like tree service, tree removal, it's looking like roughly around 40. I would say on the high end, you'd probably want to be at like $200 a day for tree services in Seattle. If things are a little less aggressive than that, maybe 175, but I would say safely in Seattle, 200 a day, 5 days a week would probably be like a safe bet. Now, if I changed this market, so I kept the exact same keywords, change this market to what would be like a place that is a little less competitive. Let's just say Portland or something like that. Don't want the whole region. Let's just do Portland, Oregon. We'll get rid of Seattle. Let's see what happens to the click cost. It is a little bit lower. So you can see literally just changing the market, tree service near me went from 40 to 25. So that's the impact of not only the niche, like the industry that you're in, but the market that you're in as well. So let's say it's $25 a click in Portland. You're now, instead of a $200 per day budget in Seattle, it might be $125 as like a starting point. So that is roughly how I get a kind of an estimate of what is a realistic picture of what Google Ads might cost in your local market. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go back, and we'll stick with Portland because it seems like a little less insanely competitive. I'm going to swap through a few other examples to kind of show you what costs can be based on the industry as well. And then obviously on your end, go through this keyword planner, put in your keywords, and then see roughly what it might cost. So this is tree services. I'm going to swap in a different industry, and then we'll be back in just a second. All right, so we're back with another quick estimate. This time I'm going with dumpster rental. So we're keeping it in Portland, Oregon. Did a dumpster rental search. And again, we want to look at some of those high intent, high quality keywords and see roughly what the cost per click is. Two really good keywords right here. We got dumpster rental Portland, Oregon, dumpster rental near me. Those are all looking about like $750. So again, industry, location, competition, all that plays such a big factor. So in this case, $750, like you really only need, I would probably tell somebody in dumpster rental in Portland, probably do like $50 a day, because $750 a click is like pretty solid for that industry. So I would probably low end say like, hey, $35-$40 a day. I'd probably recommend like $50 a day. So that's dumpster rental. Let me do one more just for the sake of fun to show you what the high end can be. And how this can impact, going back to the whole industry. Let's do one more and then I'll be back in just a sec. All right, so the last one, I figured I would have a little fun with it and do an industry that is insanely competitive and one that personally I don't really touch too much because of how ridiculously overpriced some of the cost per click is on Google. We're gonna do a roofing example. So you can see here, I did roofing near me, roofers Portland, and you can see roofing companies Portland, $100 per click, roofers Portland, $103. So this is again kind of showing the variance of Google Ads, where it's really hard to answer that question of how much do Google Ads cost? How much do I need to budget? It's totally individualized based upon what industry you're in, what market you're in, how competitive that market is. So it's important that you come to the keyword planner like this and you get a rough idea of what your particular market is, because again, I think it's really important to be realistic with Google Ads and not come in to say, let's say you want to do roofing and you're in Portland and you have $1,000 a month. I would say go to something like Facebook, because Google Ads, $1,000 and you have $100 clicks for something like roofing companies Portland, you're going to get 10 clicks in a month. Maybe you'll get one lead. If it's the beginning of a campaign, if it's optimized, maybe we'll get 2 out of that. So something like this, $100 per click, I would pretty much be like, you have to be at $500 a day. If you want to do roofing in Portland on Google Ads, that's just kind of the reality of that market. So that is how I calculate budgets on Google Ads. Rather, I guess just kind of get estimates in terms of budgets and how you can actually use this keyword tool to figure that out for yourself and see how much Google Ads could cost in your particular market. All right, so that is it. Hopefully you can take this video, take those steps, and then try to figure out how much Google Ads should cost for your business. If you want to see more content, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. If there's anything else you want to see, comment down below and I will see if I can make a video on it. And if you want to get a free Google Ads course, you can see on this page here, below, I'm going to have a free Google Ads course linked in the description, probably pin it in the top comment as well. And then also, if you are the owner of a local business and you want somebody to actually set up, build, optimize, manage a Google Ads campaign for your business, there's going to be a link in the description below to a consultation application. You just fill that out. It'll send that info over to me. And if I feel like I can help you out, I will reach out and let you know. But that's it for this video. If you want to see more, again, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.